Hi, my name is Ben, and today I will be discussing the connection between technology usage on the Villanova campus and the possible disconnection it causes between the user and their surroundings. So it has been made clear that technology is being cautiously looked at by many due to its increased usage amongst people, as shown by these articles. This has been primarily due to the increasing innovations in the mobility of technology, where now practically everyone has a smartphone in their pocket and a laptop in their bag. We even now have access to internet on our watches. Who would have guessed? But what I was most curious about is how technology is affecting Villanova University. Are we as students becoming too obsessed and attached with our tech that we are losing the ability to pay attention to our environment and socialize with people? That is why I decided to conduct an observational study on campus. How this worked was throughout the course of 3 days, I noted people in various locations on campus and simply jotted down if it was a group of people or only one person, and if they were using technology or not. Simple. And here are the results from those observations, which ended up being approximately 130 people. Now, from the data, you may notice that these numbers do not add up to 130. That is because instead of making a really long list of 130 people and noting if they were using technology or not and if they were in a group, I decided to simply create two columns of one person and two or more people, as I personally believe this is more effective in showing the results of the study. So looking at the results, the first thing that I found very strange, but what also speaks about tech usage a lot, is the fact that of the total number of one-person groups, 100% of them were observed using technology. Because of this, it is a clear observation that when people are alone at Villanova, it seems that they will be immediately relying on technology. Another interesting observation is that for the two or more groups, it is practically an even split between using technology and not using technology. So while this doesn't show that all students here are dissocializing when they're in groups because of technology, I do still think that is somewhat of a concern that the split is really 50-50. Now, after doing this study, I felt that I needed something more to better describe the technology usage here at Villanova. So I made a survey that I distributed to several Villanova students. And here are the results of that survey with the corresponding questions asked. So the first question of the survey was simply, how would you describe your relationship with technology? I asked this question because while doing some research on technology addiction, I found in a published scholarly article that tolerance and intense desire for gadget use were the most commonly fulfilled criteria for technology addiction. So, to determine if there were any signs of technology addiction on campus, I asked this question. And as you can see by the size of the blue region, a majority of people said that they rely on tech all the time, and the second most said that they rely on it for most things they do. While this doesn't prove that a tech addiction exists, it is interesting to see how much people do rely on technology as of now. The next question is, do you use technology as a comfort tool? By this, I mean, do people, when they're in an uncomfortable environment, use technology to feel more comfortable? By the way, this and any other elaborations I provide were given along with the questions in the survey to ensure that there were no misinterpretations while people answered the questions. Now, I asked this because in another article that described the definition of technology addiction, it stated that one aspect of addiction is turning to the internet or a technology-enabled device to improve your mood, experience pleasure, or relief. As the pie chart shows, a majority of people said that most of the time they will use tech to feel more comfortable, with the next majority saying all the time. So again, while this doesn't prove anything, it does show more evidence that Villanova students might have a technology addiction. The third question is, how often do you use technology in a social setting? I asked this because in another scholarly paper, it stated that several studies suggest a direct link between social media use and social disconnection. Now, it is somewhat relieving to see that most people feel that they don't often use technology when they're with people, but there is still a small amount saying they will most of the time. At first, this kind of surprised me because in my observational study, I found that it was practically evenly split between using tech and not using tech. But the reason these statistics don't look the same is because my observational study was merely a snapshot of people alone and in social settings. So while it does hold some significance and gives some insight, it doesn't paint the entire picture. So it is understandable why this pie chart and the table show different results, but both of them do still show that technology is present in social settings. Now, the fourth question is a simple one, asking how much would you say you use technology daily? The reason I asked this is simply because I was curious to see if there was any connection between the amount of tech usage and the social disconnection as well. And to my surprise, there isn't any connection. As you can see, the number of hours spent on technology is varying immensely. However, the other questions don't vary like this. Because of this, I infer that it really doesn't matter how much you need to use technology, as it will still result in a degree of disconnection and addiction. Now, one thing that I do find strange is that there are a lot of people that selected small daily hours, which is a little surprising since these are college students, and to my knowledge, many assignments need to be completed online, and not to mention the amount of information needed for the classes is to be found online. So I do find the results of this question to be a little strange, but I will simply leave the opinion on this up to you and your interpretations. So moving on, we have the final question of the survey, which asked, would you say that technology disconnects you from your environment? What I mean by disconnection is that when using technology, you don't notice a lot of things in your environment, and you're mainly focused on what's on the screen. Now, as you can see, I provided a maybe option, as I knew many people wouldn't be able to say simply, yes, I am disconnected, or no, I'm not disconnected. Thus, the maybe option, which I interpret as saying I may be disconnected, but I'm not entirely sure. Nevertheless, it is clear that the majority is split between maybe and yes, with very few saying no. By the way, I counted the percentage of green to be yes, because while the participants said only socially, I do feel that a social environment is still an environment, and a major one at that. So with the two majorities split, it is clear that while I cannot say Villanova students are disconnected entirely, I am confident to say that for the most part, students are to some degree disconnected. So finally, why does this matter? Now, in no way am I saying that Villanova students have a technology addiction and are completely disconnected from their environments. There is some evidence here that can support that we are heading in that direction, but more evidence and data needs to be collected to better show that. All I wanted to do here is to provide a foundation that would acknowledge a possible problem on campus that would hopefully lead to some more investigation. Now, another thing I want to note is that I am also not saying that innovations in technology that we have today are a bad thing. While I did show that technology usage may be contributing to a problem, that doesn't mean technology is entirely the problem, because technology has caused a lot of benefits that can be seen in society as well. In another article that I found while researching, it explained that tests of significance showed that the use of computers helps students in being more actively engaged in learning, and that the use of computers increased student interactions with fellow students and/or instructors. With that, I'd like to conclude that technology doesn't need to be gotten rid of. I overall believe that a balance needs to be found where technology can still help with learning and provide social benefits, but not to the point where it starts creating addictions and actually disconnects us from the world that we live in. Where is this balance? I don't know, but I'm hoping that this presentation may spark the desire to find it. Now, I thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation and the work that I did. And here are the resources that I utilized to make this presentation and provide you with all the information I could. Again, I thank you and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.